A very good evening, viewers. This is South Speaks, and today, Karnataka government's vocal for local push seems to have become a major talking point, not just in Karnataka, viewers, but across the country. The state government has now given a cabinet nod and a draft bill has been prepared that is ready to be tabled in the assembly soon. So you may ask, what is this bill all about and why the fuss at this point in time? Well, the Congress government now wants industries, tech companies and predominantly everyone in the private sector to prioritize Kannadigas for jobs. In the draft bill, they want companies to provide 50% jobs in managerial roles, 75% jobs in non-management roles. This is for Kannadigas. Now, while Chief Minister Siddaramaiah and his government say that the new bill will ensure the welfare of Kannadigas while also being fair deal to the private companies, top voices from the industry, however, have raised concerns over this particular move. From the likes of Mohandas Pai to Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw and even NASSCOM, which is one of India's largest tech industries body, has asked for a rollback of this bill as they feel it will have a negative impact on the functioning of the companies. So how will the government really take this forward is the big question that is before us today. So let me open this up to our panel of guests who are joining us today on the broadcast. From the Congress party, we have Mr. Satya Prakash, who will of course be answering on behalf of the government, and more importantly, of course, he will also tell us whether this particular bill will stand the test of time. We also have other guests who are joining us today. Arun Javagal, he is the Karnataka Rakshana Vedike State Organization Secretary. We also have Rituparna Chakrabarti, Corporate Strategist and Independent Director, who is also with us. Abudaya Singh Rana, he is a former Chief of Staff from an academy who is with us. But before I go to all of them, we have a special guest, Labour Minister of Karnataka, Mr. Santosh Lad, is also joining us on the broadcast. So my first question, of course, will go to him. Mr. Santosh Lad, thank you for joining us. Of course, this has become a big debate across the state now. It's being, spoken about in different parts of the country as well. Now, while, of course, this proposal has been made, Mr. Lad, there seems to be a little bit of lack of clarity whether it was the pressure from Pro-Kannada groups that has made the Karnataka government go ahead with this, or is it actually in the interest of the people of the state or the Kannadigas here?
It's both vice versa. The reason is, one is the pressure from the local and as well as from the government. We thought that the local people should get more benefit. See, if you can understand this bill, we know that it's going to be, there are already references, such bill has come from Haryana and all other states and it's been struck down by Supreme Court. I'm very much aware, but here our contention is neither we are using the word called reservation, neither we are using as a quota. It's we are asking them to give a preference, for example, in the management side, we are asking to give localites as 70%, 50% in management side, and in non-management side is we are asking them to give for 70%. But this is not here. We have got a checkmate there, sir. In case you can't get all those things which you were supposed to get, still again we say you can have a concession. There is again you can drop by 25% here and 50% there. It's not a very affirmative. This is more of an affirmative. It's not that it's like mandatory. So why would it stand in the court of law? It's not like a mandatory of 100% reservation. There is always a negotiation can be done with the government level so that the locals also have been given preference.
Okay. Now, on one hand, of course, you're saying there's ambit for negotiation. On the other hand, of course, you're saying it's not, going to be mandated or people are not going to be told that you have to do this. But, there are apprehensions that many of the industry giants are raising. So once the bill is really tabled and it becomes law, what is the level of adherence that you will be expecting from these companies?
No, in the bill itself, we are giving a provision, and it's an enactment of law because from Sarojini Mahishi report till now, all the successive governments, they have been trying to give a lot of support to the industries. As such, even Karnataka government till today, from the pre-independence till today, whichever government has ruled in state, they've always preferred, and it's one of the most progressing state, and more than anything else, the Kannadigas, the Karnataka people are very warm and welcoming for every industry which has come in every district here. The question is, I need to just, tell you that the whole idea of the government is not to force on them. So when I say what you mean not to force is when we say 70%, so if 70% if it is not available there, you can drop by 20% still there. In the management, when we say it is 50%, if you don't get the requisite talent, you can drop by another 25% here. It's a fair deal. Matlab, people from outside state also get equal opportunity. I want to repeat here, even people from a different state, even though they are not local aids here, still get the equal opportunity. So I really don't understand why there is a lot of negative sentiments about it.
Well, you're talking about negative sentiment on one hand, but you're also saying it's not mandatory for them to follow. But then when you don't enforce something, people believe that they probably may not have to follow it, Mr. Santosh Lad. So how do you really look at the companies actually going ahead and adhering to this rule that you're going to put in place?
See, that's where the mandating in the sense what we are not getting any penalization for that. There is no criminal, there is no case against them. So basically, we want to get a sort of an enactment where industry has to understand the local sentiments here, because every investment when it's coming here, there is also people don't have merit. How do you say there is no merit in the state? There are 16 odd medical colleges and more than 440 to 450. We have got engineering colleges, hundreds of ITI, hundreds of diploma college, international schools are here. So just to ask, if you see in India, we get more FDIs, why are we getting money here? When you say there is no local talent. So when people say we don't have local talent, okay, as from an industry, I would request the industry people, you come up with a plan and talk to the government. This is the skill set you want, and you train them and give them job opportunity. Why shouldn't you do it? So anyway, I'm not trying to blame, I don't want to score, I'm not trying to give any sort of trying to tell them that this is their fault, our fault. I think we need to understand, because there is a local pressure building up. Today, I'm so sorry trying to quote that even Trump was speaking before the elections where that the Indians are taking the job, the Bengalurans were taking the job. So today that pressure is building today, down the line next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years in every state, or perhaps in Karnataka, the pressure will build more. So as an industry, why don't they come out, and what is wrong in giving more employment in local area?
Okay, interesting that you brought up, the statements that are being made by, of course, Donald Trump as well in the US elections. And more importantly now, while, of course, you're getting these reactions coming in from the corporate bigwigs, on the other hand, there's also a little bit of politics. The opposition, especially BJP, is raising some questions whether this is a diversionary tactic being employed by the Congress government while they're facing allegations of corruption.
See, BJP has got always its way, so whatever allegations they want to make, they can make. If they can see this from where the file has been built up, this has been last 3 months, and we were supposed to get last week only. Apparently, we brought this week. So anyway, if they want to say something that we are using for a political game, it's left to them. Then I can also make a lot of blame, as such. Now, when Mr. Modi Saab was asked to talk about NEET in the parliament, then he did not answer. He went to America or some other countries. So I say you can say that we are following him then.
Right, Mr. Santosh Lad, thank you for joining us here on Mirror Now. That was the Labour Minister there giving us clarity as to how the government plans to go ahead with this particular proposal in the bill in itself. Let me, in fact, take this across to a few other guests as well on the broadcast, who I, of course, introduced a little while earlier. First, of course, let's get the industry perspective as well. Rituparna Chakrabarti, how do you really look at this particular move? Are you looking at it as regressive, or do you feel that, consideration of, the people of that particular state and having, ample amount of people from the particular state, employed in tech companies or any industry, is that something that you see as important?
As I am a citizen of Karnataka, and hence I speak from a vantage point where I would want whatever is right and good for the youth of the state and the youth of the country. Whatever has been proposed, I'm actually very concerned, because on one hand, we talk about bill. On one hand, we're talking about 70%, 50%. And on the other, we're talking about it being a preference. So there is definitely a conflict, because the message is not clear that if you are not mandating it, why there is a bill, why is there numbers associated? So clearly regressive, And I tell you 5 reasons why it just doesn't work. It's anti-India. We already know it unconstitutional. Courts have actually struck down previous such attempts by other states, clearly saying that it creates artificial walls, which we don't need. It's anti-growth. I mean, the technology sector within Karnataka contributes.
But you know, the Labour Minister addressed that issue. He says this is the reason that the courts will actually accept it, because there's option for private companies. If they don't actually fill up this particular quota, then they can probably approach the government and there'll be some sort of relief that will be given, and there could be adjustment done, because there's 2 different forms of reservation that they're looking at. That is in managerial or non-management posts as well.
The word reservation itself, I don't know how it will pass the lens of legalities in the country, because this is constitution we are talking about. So I do understand the attempt being made to kind of blunt the effect it has had, but it's definitely, I mean, we know it's anti-India, so I'm not going to belabor the problem. I think it's anti-growth. The technology sector contributes 25% of the state's GDP. It's at the brink of crisis if something like this happens. It not only contributes to growth for the state, it contributes to the growth of the country. And it definitely will be hampered. It's anti-jobs. I mean, we are making a case that this is going to help create more local jobs. You've seen what the Andhra Pradesh government has done. They've quickly come back and have asked industries to move there. This will take away jobs because it's hampering the free will of choosing talent based on need, based on skill, based on availability. It's anti-innovation, clearly, because...
Okay, you're talking about based on skill and availability. You know, this was something that many of the ministers in the Congress government spoke about. They're saying in Karnataka, there's enough skill. There's good quality education. So as far as finding, good talent here, that's not going to be a concern, is what they are of the opinion. Let me also bring in Arun Javagal very quickly here. Now, he's from the Karnataka Rakshana Vedike, a group that has been, of course, campaigning, protesting, held satyagrahas, and has been building pressure on the government to make this happen. Now, Mr. Javagal, your organization and many pro-Kannada groups are happy. But as far as the state government is concerned, there seems to be some sort of a confusion or a dilemma. Because we saw a social media post by, the Chief Minister talking about 100% reservation in C and D category. That gets deleted. Now, the focus seems to be on 50% and 70%. Now, how do you as an organization really look at this? Because they're also saying they're open to deliberation. This is not going to be mandated.
First of all, this demand is not started now. This demand is there from last 5 decades. Okay, Sarojini Mahishi report came in 84, I think. Okay, and recently, I think last 5-6 years back, there is a revise to the Sarojini Mahishi report, including the private sector jobs. Okay, earlier in 1984, there were no so much private sector jobs. Now there are a lot of private sector jobs. So I'm not sure why there is a confusion in government, but I don't see any confusion because, see, the government is allotting a lot of lands, or there is a subsidy of tax, there is a subsidized price for electricity. There are a lot of things will be given to industries to start. Okay, the basic idea for all these is to create more and more employment. So if the employment is created, but those employments are going to other state people, then what is the point in providing so much subsidy, so much land, so much electricity and all those things, right? The point is, when you are giving a subsidy, the basic idea, the first fundamental idea is for the employment creation. So that should be given to the locals. The locals should get preference. There is no debate on that.
But Mr. Javagal, here there are private companies who are investing huge sums of money coming into Bengaluru because they feel that there are no such compulsions. They can hire purely based on talent, see what is best for the growth of their company. Now, if you say choose from this pool of talent alone, if they think that it's not going to be working for them, it probably will affect the efficiency of their operations. They may consider moving away from Karnataka. Then who are affected? It's the Kannadigas again that are affected. Has that been something that you've considered?
See, I will tell you one thing. Kannada land is progressing just 20-30 years. Whoever thinking that the migrants or only companies, IT companies built Bangalore, IT companies built Karnataka, they are thinking wrong, because Karnataka is progressive. Bangalore is progressive. If you look at Kempegowda's time till now, it is progressive. Okay, don't think that the investments are coming only because of migrants.
It is progressive,
There are a lot of
Mr.
local
Jawgal. It is
talents,
progressive,
okay,
but isn't it important
Let
as
me-
well? How
Yeah,
much
let
is
me
the
tell you,
contribution of the
let
IT
me
sector to
finish.
the GDP, to the growth of the state?
Yeah, see, that is what I'm saying. Who has problem with reservation or a preference? The states who are unable to create jobs, the states who are unable to invite investors, the people of states who are having problem in giving lands to industries, they have problem with that. And the second thing is, there are some industries who want to make more money by inviting people from the other states because they can pay less and they can get more work done by the migrant workers. So they are literally worried about.
Okay, that's an
this
interesting
bill.
point.
Otherwise,
I want a
don't
reaction
think-
to that. I want a reaction to that, Mr. Jawgal. I'll get a response to that. Abhyudaya Singh Rana is a former chief of staff from an academy. Mr. Rana, how do you really look at the statement that has come in from Jawgal that this is something that is important? The people of the land should be given preference, and more importantly, he says private companies employ people from other states because they probably come at a cheaper cost as well.
It makes me laugh because the talent that we hire typically in tech companies has got nothing to do with where they come from. It all depends on the kind of skill sets they carry. It depends on the past projects they have done. It depends upon their previous experiences. Sometimes we even narrow down into special projects they have done in the past. And never ever we ask, where do you live? What's your religion? What's your caste? Or what's your state? So I find it hilarious that somebody would say that, or anybody in Bengaluru in the tech industry calls people from outside states because they are ready to work for cheaper. This is not a US versus India debate where US is outsourcing their service to India because India is a cheap resource. India is a unified country. Please understand that. We are a country that takes a lot of pride in, unity through diversity. There is enough diversity, but there is unity, right? And I think the whole point of our national anthem is about unity and diversity. So I feel this is a very politically myopic statement and absolutely regressive bill. And if it sees the day of the light of the day, I'll be surprised because there's so much operational challenges we will face at our end to follow something like this,
Okay. Mr. Satyaprakash, we've heard different voices. We've heard from the Labour Minister himself. Right now, the question that comes up before the government is, what are you going to do about these voices? On one hand, you say we are going to, safeguard the interests of Kannadigas. Kannada pride matters to us, language matters to us, culture matters to us. Then you plan to bring this bill in. Then there's also, posts that are put up about 100% reservation. They get deleted. Then you also have the aspect of saying, well, this is a bill that will make a law, but then will not mandate. So a lot of ambiguity here. And what ambiguity does again is it hampers functioning and proper functioning.
Bopanna Siddaramaiah is evolving as Kannada Ramaya for Kannadigas. We need to understand that in this state, which has given so much of opportunity for all, we contribute nearly 11 to 12% of all jobs. And those jobs we are offering for all. Even here, this will stand the scrutiny of law as far as Article 16 and 19, primarily because this is not reservation. This is adequate representation for the local people who have given their land, their resources, and everything, congenial atmosphere for all of India. So it will stand the scrutiny of law. What are we asking for? Corporate social responsibility also should be understood by the industry captains, that they have a corporate social responsibility for the locals of this land who have given everything to them. We are not asking, selected less merit people. Our labor minister has gone on record. Santosh Lad has said, if you have any problem as far as the skill is concerned, we both can sit together and see that you get adequately skilled people from Karnataka. Karnataka is among the best state as far as skill, education in IT sector, service sector. That is why people and investments are coming into Bangalore. If someone says Bangalore was built by outsiders, it is far from truth. Bangalore was built by...
You're talking about the corporate responsibilities, corporate social responsibility of these companies. Now, I'll ask my producer if we have the graphics of what the statement of NASSCOM was to put it up on air as I ask you this question. NASSCOM puts up the statement that globally there's a huge shortage for skilled talent. And Karnataka, they say, despite the large pool of skilled talent, is no exception. And they're also here saying that the technology sector contributes to almost 25% of the state's GDP. And it helps in higher growth of the state. Now, they say that, it's deeply disturbing to see that this kind of bill, which will not only hamper the growth of the industry, impact jobs, and even the global brand for the state. This is something, NASSCOM, of course, is a body that represents multiple tech companies in the country and even in Bengaluru. When they express these sort of apprehensions, and you still stick to the point of saying, well, companies have corporate social responsibilities. They need to find the talent pool from, what is available in the land. Is that too much to ask of these companies? And are you really putting this image of Bengaluru as an IT capital of the country at risk?
Bopanna, it should be a win-win situation for both. After all, government of Karnataka should take care of the interest of Kannadigas as well as the industry. We are not telling, industry, we're not going to press them. What we are telling is, let us and you both sit together. If there are some deficiencies as far as skill is concerned, we have our skill department ministry. We both will sit together. So over a period of time, we are not telling immediately you do it. There is 3 years gap. In these 3 years, you will sit together and make sure that whatever skill you want, we are ready to give.
Okay, there's opportunity for dialogue, there's opportunity for deliberation, nothing is mandated. Rituparna, respond to that, please.
Be very comforted hearing that there is no mandate. And just to suggest that, if one has to protect the interest of the local youth, focus on large-scale skill development, focus on incentivizing organizations who probably are hiring more local youths as a preference, as a choice, and not as a compromise. Embrace inclusions, partner with the industry and see how you can make things work where there is more job creation. And be very clear in the messaging, because right now my concern is that on one hand, I hear it's not a mandate. On the other hand, I hear talk about it being a rule. And also most importantly, does the government themselves have resources to execute something like this? Like, come and talk to us. I just heard our honorable co-panelists say, how many, there are so many companies in the state. Will each company come and sit down for consultation and suggestion? Is it possible even for the government to spend time and give that bandwidth? Shouldn't the organizations be focusing more in terms of running the businesses productively rather than wasting time and things like this? Please give it a thought. I don't think
very interesting point. How many companies and how much time will the government really have to look into each and every aspect of this, to hold discussions, deliberations, look at the permutations and combinations, whether you provided 50% here, if you didn't, have you made it up in the other sector? It is a very complicated process, and I get where you're coming from. Mr. Arun Javagal, when the government says it's not going to be made mandatory and it's going to be, deliberations that's going to be thrown open, how does your organization look at it, which is of course batting for, this to be enforced in its true spirit?
See, we will, our campaign will continue until there is a clear set of instructions given to the industries. Okay. Until then, we will fight. Okay. We'll fight for the people. So the first government is for the people. Okay. The industries has to be there, and there should be a, balance between the talent, skills and other things. Okay. There should be a balance. We agree to that. But we also
what balance are you talking about? What balance can a private company do? They will only look at skill. Skill is their priority. What is the balance that you're expecting in that?
We have around 300 engineering colleges. Okay, so we have a lot of colleges, not just engineering. We have other management colleges also in Karnataka. There is I don't think there is a shortage of skills here. So again, the government is saying that they are open for discussion.
No, but the question here is, Mr. Jagal, why does a company that is putting in huge amounts of investment in the state of Karnataka have to think on the lines of what you feel is right? that, well,
Why-
there are good colleges, there shouldn't be a dearth of talent. It is their prerogative to
Yeah.
look for this talent. And if they feel that 90% of the talent should come from Karnataka because they actually feel it will help their company, it is their prerogative. If they feel 30% should come from Karnataka because it will benefit the company, it's their prerogative. But if you
Yeah.
mandate something, that is when the problem really arises, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, you're right. Let me tell you one thing. If that is the case, if the industry is not ready to give employment to the locals, why would government give subsidized land, subsidized electricity, and subsidized water and other things? Tell me, what is the reason behind this? Do we have
Interesting
to
point.
see?
Very
We have to
interesting point that
compromise.
you mentioned.
Locals will
I'll
have to
bring back
compromise
Mr.
a
Rana
lot.
here.
See,
The
locals will
government
have-
is
Let
helping
me finish.
IT companies flourish
Let me
in
finish.
Bengaluru. When they are doing their bit, the companies can do their bit for the land that is helping them flourish. Is the statement that Mr. Javagal makes, Mr. Rana? How do you really respond to that?
Let me finish. I think I have not finished my point. Okay. If companies are interested in
Mr. Javagal, I have very little
neglecting
time,
the,
so I want to bring in. I got the crux of what you said. So let me bring in Abudaya Singh Rana as well to respond to that. I don't have too much time. We have about 2 to 3 minutes left. Mr. Rana, go ahead.
I'm a maths guy, right? I'm an analytical guy. The way I see this is you are thinking that, the numerator contains localites plus migrants, right? And denominator is all job opportunities. What you're effectively doing is driving companies away. Anything that is restrictive in nature, human tendency is to run away from restrictions, right? So 25% of your tech GDP is today from the tech companies. I see this shrinking because of these restrictive policies, which will be difficult to execute.
there
You
is
talk
a
about skill
there is a difference
development. I can
between
promise
restriction and regulation. There is
cannot
a
be
difference.
developed within 3 years. I can promise you these skills cannot be developed in 3 years. These are practical skills we are talking about, which can only be gained through experience. Coming back to the point, right? The maths, what you're doing is you're shrinking the denominator. So effectively, you are reducing the opportunities for your people also that future job opportunities would have created. Tech industry is most unbiased when it comes to hiring, right? Because performance is very clear. It is meritocratic in nature. So there's no scope of any bias or discrimination. I'm not even speaking about the harm it will do to landlords, brokers,
But to the point
small
that
and
Mr.
medium
Javagal
businesses.
said that the state is doing so much, for the industries to flourish. So in terms of helping the government or all the people of the land is something that they can do, the IT companies, by ensuring that they can look from the talent pool of the state itself.
I mean, that is beyond the purview of my understanding, to be honest. I don't want to comment on that. That is something which is macroeconomic in nature. I'm sure he's coming from a learned place. I respect his opinion. But I just see it as a regressive and restrictive policy, which is just going to shrink the denominator, shrink the opportunities for localites also in the long run.
Okay. Well, it's been an interesting debate. We've heard different perspectives. We've heard the voices of the government as well. But, unfortunately, I'm out of time today on the debate. But this is going to be interesting. And how the government plans to really move forward from here with, so much resistance that we are hearing from the industry itself is going to be one thing to watch out for in the coming days. I'm thanking all our panelists for joining us on this broadcast.